How's it going, everyone? Now, I just want to welcome everyone back to the channel because I want to talk about something special. Every once in a while, we get a game that truly defines what makes video games such an amazing hobby. We get games that respect the players, we get games that respect your time, and we get games that truly show how much of fraudulent activities happen in the AAA gaming space. Today, I want to talk about a special game that was released, kind of came out of nowhere in my opinion, but I want to talk about Clair Obscur Expedition 33. But before, as always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, share the video with your friends, leave a comment, leave a like, all that jazz. We are looking at a very special game, and the more people that are aware of the existence of this game, I think the better, and the more chance we have of really saving this industry. So Expedition 33, I'm going to call it that from now on, I'm not going to say the full title, is a turn-based RPG made from a brand new company that resides in France. So we are seeing all these different countries now, China, Korea, Japan's always doing what they're doing, obviously France, releasing these games that are just reminding me of a better time within the gaming industry. It really starts to show how garbage North American games are now, while they're all focusing on live services and releasing broken experiences that will be in quote fixed later, and also raising the price on top of that. You really start to see just the argument of AAA studios saying that game development is costing way too much now. The tariffs, all of these excuses that they're making to gouge the players is completely fraudulent at this point. And Expedition 33 is shedding all of that to light due to the fact that, before I get into the review, I just want to remind everyone that this game was created by 34 people and has a small budget of about 30 or 40 million. I'm saying small budget in the gaming space, that is a small budget, and this game is not even full price. It's like $50. It's a $50 game that has about 60 to 65 hours of content to 100% it, 35 for the main story. So you're getting a pretty meaty package for less money from a lesser amount of people working on it, and it just shows that passion and an actual respect for the player can really enhance the experience of what you're creating. So it's a turn-based RPG. I'm not going to spoil the story just because I feel like this game has one of the best stories, in my opinion, that I've seen in anything in a long time. But the premise is that every year this creature named the Paintress goes on a monolith and paints a new number, and the society that lives in Lumiere, they see this number, and everybody who is that age is completely, pretty much Thanos snapped of existence. So what happens is they send an expedition out to go and stop the Paintress to help save society, and every year the number goes lower. So at the beginning of the game, the number is 34. Anybody who's 34 is then wiped out of existence, and now is 33. And as you can see, every year the number is going down, which eventually it's going to be 0, meaning that all of society will be wiped out. So you are playing as Gustav. You have your expedition group that is right away slaughtered, but there's some few survivors, and you're trying to find the mystery of who the paintress is, as well as stop her so that you can save the rest of society so that people aren't shackled to this inevitable doom. That's all I'm gonna say, just because this story goes in so many different directions. There is a part, if you know, you know, but there is a part in this game that I could not believe happened. I thought maybe I was at the end of the game. At this point, it's about 10 hours or 7 hours. I'm like, is this game almost done? No, there is still like 70% of the game left, and they had the balls to do a massive rug pull on the player. That's all I'm going to say. I do not want to go too deep into any spoiler territory, even showing you certain parts of the game in the clips that you're watching. I have to be careful because there are some spoilers for characters and everything that you can just kind of put 2 and 2 together just from watching gameplay. So I'm not going to spoil too much, but this game's writing is phenomenal. They really respect the France setting. Even though you're playing in the English dub, they still are saying French words like mon ami and merde. Excuse my terrible accent, but they are using French phrases. They really do indulge in the France-inspired architecture and the style of the clothing and everything, and all the characters are beautiful, of course. So yeah, they really do nail that atmosphere, and they're not too afraid to, stay deep into their roots, which I really do appreciate. They're not trying to go for some crazy Hollywood, like everybody needs to relate kind of character. Like, no, these are French characters. They want you to know they're French characters, and the setting is inspired by French architecture, which I think is really lends to the style of this game. And the voice acting is amazing. We got Ben Starr as one of the main characters. We got the guy from Daredevil. We got Shadowheart. We got all these amazing actors. And even though I said in my last review of the first Berserker, Ben Starr, man, his voice is like smooth butter, and it is no different in this. The voice acting, the dialogue, the banter between the characters is just astounding. And the fact that there's so much focus, and this game was made by 30-something people, and it is not full price. It's just like a dream game, in my opinion. So the combat is really where this game shines. The combat is turn-based. I know turn-based turns a lot of people off. I know there's a lot of people who miss turn-based back in the old Final Fantasy days, the Final Fantasy X days. Like, I love turn-based combat. I think the only series that kind of gets away with turn-based combat still is Persona and anything that Atlas makes. Metaphor, of course, was one of my top games of the year. Is actually one of my favorite games of all time now. That's turn-based, but how they spice it up in this game is it's all about interactivity. So when you are attacking and doing moves, you have to make sure you time the attack button properly to do more damage, or in some cases not to hurt yourself when you're doing certain spells. But the main thing where I find that the interactivity helps is when you're on defense. So in standard turn-based RPGs, you gotta hope the RNG odds are on your side and the enemy misses. But in this game, you actually have to press the dodge button. You have to time your dodge when the enemy's attacking. So you have to read enemy patterns, almost like a Souls game or like a character action game, where you have to read the enemy's movements to make sure you can dodge on time. On top of dodging, they also have a parry system, which the timing window is like pretty much dead on. You have to make sure you are timing that parry on time, very low space for you to have errors. And when you press the parry button, you can parry, and if you parry every single attack in a row, you can do a counter attack. And I think that this is just an amazing way to keep the game fresh. This isn't the first time we've seen this mechanic in a turn-based game, but I think just how they execute it here really shows that, people who don't like turn-based games can really get a kick out of this, especially if you're into like Sekiro or like any of those like deflecting-based games. This gives you that itch, and there's nothing more satisfying when seeing an enemy pull like a 5-hit combo, you parry every single one, you have a counter attack, the enemy's dead or close to, and you just go on the offense and just wreck its shit afterward. It's just one of the most satisfying things. It definitely keeps the combat fresh the entire way through. I definitely do feel that when I'm playing, Persona or Metaphor, Like, I love the combat, but once I get to like that 80-hour mark, like I'm just kind of like speeding through the fodder enemies. Not here. Even when I was like 50 hours deep in the game, I was ecstatic anytime I was about to fight an enemy, just because of this mechanic alone. The defense mechanic is just incredible. Another really cool thing is how they do like the perk system. So you get pictos. These are like little like cards or things that you can attach to your character. If you do 4 fights and win with these pictos attached, you can have 3 at a time. You can then put them into your Luminous, and once you put them in the Luminous, they can be permanent passive abilities that your character can have, and all your other characters in your party and on the bench can also use them. So you really want to take these pictos and you want to always keep updating them, because you know, even though you'll find a picto that has a game-breaking mechanic for you, once you permanently learn that, you want to replace that with a new picto, because that move that you really like can now be a permanent passive that you can have on top of any new picto that you're having. And this really allows a really cool build variety, because for example, you can have a picto that every time I use free aim, which is a really cool mechanic, when you can, kind of like in Persona when you can use your gun, you free aim like a third-person shooter, and this is all based on your aiming. Like, it uses an AP skill, which is kind of like your mana in this game, and if you miss your shot because you suck at aiming, you just wasted an AP point. That sucks. But you can make it so that they can catch someone on fire, and then you can have another character's picto be that if somebody's on fire, then you do triple damage. And it just, you really want to have this cohesiveness with your party, because you can really start to dish out some crazy plays if you align your pictos and your Luminous and everything, and your characters align properly. And it just, once it all comes together, you feel like you're like a genius on the battlefield. I'm not gonna lie, because at first it can be a little overwhelming, especially with the Luminous system, because I feel like the game doesn't explain it too well. But once you get a hang of it, you're gonna start putting these crazy team mechanics and team formations together, and you're just gonna have an onslaught on enemies. You know, on top of the dodge and the parry maneuver, you can start to take on bosses that are like 10 levels higher than you, just based on the skill alone that you have, which I really do like, because I do feel like in turn-based games, if the secret boss or whatever is too strong for you, like, you're gonna get one shot and there's nothing you can do. Sure, the enemy might miss once or twice, but other than that, you're kind of screwed. But here, it doesn't matter if you get one-shotted. If you can dodge or parry, you can come out of these intense boss fights completely unscathed, and it's just amazing. I love the choice that you're able to have in this game, and how it really does respect the time and effort that you put into learning the mechanics and learning the boss patterns and all that stuff, and being able to come out on top, just kind of like a From Software game. The enemy design is absolutely insane as well. I think these are some of the most creative enemies I've seen. The Nevrons are just like this weird amalgamation of like technology and architecture, and they just look insane. And you know, in different worlds, you're always going to be getting different enemies, so the enemy variety in this game is top notch as well. You know, as you get deeper into the game, some of these creatures look weirder and weirder, and I just found myself amazed every time I went into a new biome. There was just a different type of enemy there, and it really kept everything fresh. The environments are amazing. I mean, I do feel that the traversal movement's kind of weird. It kind of feels like I saw a penguin say this. It kind of reminds me of Always Up or whatever, and it does kind of remind me of that, so much that there's literally mini games where you're doing that. You're climbing on like floating platforms with like janky traversal mechanics, and it shouldn't work. But I think the developers knew their movement was kind of like this, so the world is just kind of, I guess, made for this kind of movement. So sure, there's some times where I do wish that my character would like auto vault over something, just like a small rock when you're moving, but the world is kind of made with this movement mechanic in mind, so it doesn't actually get in the way, which I think is it deserves some respect, because you have a clunky mechanic, but you made your game able to kind of maneuver around that clunkiness to make it work. So I think that just how they did it works well. The traversal and the exploration is nice. It's not open world, but there are little biomes and little levels that you can go to from this overworld map, where the overworld map will have like sections that you can fly and swim, and it opens up the further you get into the game. but it also has enemies on there and little secret spots. And once you go into these gates, these levels, they have a full linear kind of level design with some branching paths to get secrets. I think that the actual exploration for this game is really fun. There's a lot of secret bosses and secret levels and side missions that you can do just by exploring. And some of the side stories have better stories than I've seen in some main game stories. Like, I don't know, Starfield, for example. I think that there was a couple of stories in here, side ones, that were better than the entire main story of Starfield. And the writing for this game is just top notch. And I just think that this game really does deserve to be as successful as it is. The fact that it is a small team, they made a single player turn-based RPG game for less price than every other game in the year 2025, when everybody is just raising prices. This is exactly what gamers have been wanting. And I think that if you do not support this, you're going against everything that everyone's been arguing for. This is one of those games that I really truly hope people support. I know that they've been killing sales already. This is like one of the top games of the year. It's the top rated game of the year. And you know, as of the recording this video, GTA 6 just got delayed. This game, I think, is going to win game of the year. And I really, really hope it does, because this is going to flip the gaming industry upside down. AAA developers will no longer have an excuse. And I think that this is going to push us in the direction that we used to have back in the golden age of gaming. This game feels like something that in 20 years, just how people look back on like Final Fantasy X. This is one of those games that was just so special, with so much content that really respects the player, that I think this is going to be a game that people are going to talk about in 20 years. And I just hope the developers are completely astounded by what they created, and they use what they have to push forward and create new experience for people. Like this company, I know I'm kind of shooting the shit right now, but they could be the next Square Enix if they keep up this focus and this drive. Listen, I love Square Enix, but I mean, you know, I can't deny that some of their games are just a little bit too padded, or they take too long to release. But I just, you know, I believe the company Sandfall, they've just flipped the gaming industry up completely on its head. This is equivalent to like what happened with Baldur's Gate 3, how that just changed everything. This game, I feel like, has the potential and already has been changing people's perspective on the gaming industry. So everything about this game is perfect. I mean, this has definitely become one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, it's gotta be in the top 10. Everything about this game is perfect. I'm going to replay it. I just finished it. I'm going to replay it, but I want to take my time. I want everything to sit in. I want to go back to the game in a little bit after I forget some things, so I can really truly experience everything again. I pray that this game continues to sell and do well. It's on Game Pass as well, so even if you don't want to fork over $50, you can play it on Game Pass both on PC and Xbox. So there's no reason not to play it. But on PlayStation, on Steam, on everything, I highly recommend purchasing it. And I think that you should purchase it on top of Game Pass. I originally played it on Game Pass. I'm going to purchase it on Steam just because I really want to support this developer, because they've actually listened to player feedback, and they released something that only was like a fairy tale before this came out. So you gotta give kudos to them. They deserve all of the praise. And I really hope this game wins Game of the Year, because I think that would just be a good middle finger to these AAA developers who have been stealing from us and giving us bullshit for the past, I don't know, 15 years. And the last thing I want to talk about is the music. I mean, the second you get to the start menu of the game and that melody is playing, I knew this game was going to be special. The music, you know, I think this game will most likely win Game of the Year. I can't see anything else topping it, but if not, I can definitely 100% confirm that the soundtrack, this is going to win Best Soundtrack of the Year for sure. The music in this game is incredible. There's so much variety. The French melodies with the French lyrics are just so captivating. They really set a mood of like despair but hope sometimes, and you know, there's different battle themes depending on what like stage and what biome you're in, and the music is just incredible. Again, just the start menu alone, like that is a crazy song, and I just knew this game was going to be special the second I heard it. That's gonna do it here, guys. I wanted to make a short video. This game is incredible. I never ran into any hard crashes or any issues. You know, there's a couple of times where I got stuck in the floor, a couple of times when moving around, but I was actually able to fix myself without having to reset or load the previous save. The game is very difficult, even on the easier difficulties. Like, you gotta make sure you know how to parry and dodge, which I really do love. You know, it has a lot of souls mechanic. Like, when you go to a expedition flag, it respawns all the enemies. You level yourself up, kind of like a Souls game. So there's just so much. There's literally everything here for everybody, and this is definitely one of those games that I think everybody will find something to like. If you're a story person, you're gonna like this. If you're a turn-based person, you're gonna like this. If you're a RPG fan, you'll love this. And if you're a person that was just looking for something that doesn't feel like it's robbing you, this is for you. So I cannot give praise enough for this game. This is easily my top game of the year and is in my top list of all time. Go play Expedition 33 right now. Support the developer, because we only get some companies that are willing to give the player something like this once in a while, it seems. So we have to make sure that we stand with those to help other companies see that, no, if I want my shit to sell and do well, I need to follow this suit. That's gonna do it here, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I do have a review that's in the works for Oblivion. I'll kind of release that. I was originally playing Oblivion, but then this game came out and it just took all my attention. Your boy's busy, but Oblivion will be coming next, so look out for that. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, all that jazz. I'll catch y'all in the next video. Go play Expedition 33. Peace.